So Agatha All Along is not a show made for Marvel comic fans or men in general. It's a show made by and for wine moms who accessory kids are raised by nannies, and it reflects the Los Angeles they live in today. That's a weird take after the first 2 episodes. It doesn't mean, it's just a bunch of like offensive stuff that doesn't mean anything. Like, first of all, they complained that Agatha was changed from a nanny to a slightly younger woman in the series. And now he's complaining that the show was made for people who were raised by nannies, when their argument was that was one of the things they wanted Agatha to be. It's nothing like Los Angeles at all. Westview is nothing like Los Angeles. And as far as being made for wine moms and accessory kids, the show is made for whoever wants to watch it. Like, that's the whole point. It's a sequel to WandaVision. So if you like WandaVision, you're probably going to like Agatha because it is a continuation of one of the characters from that show's story. Arguably the breakout character from WandaVision, because Wanda and Vision were the selling point for that series. For Agatha to come into that show and become as popular as she did, like creating a song that became a viral hit, for that to happen and for them to love it enough for her to get an actual show tells me that there is a niche market for it. This show doesn't have to appeal to everybody. It's for anybody that wants to watch it. By the way, not made for Marvel comic fans is such a weird statement. That's a weird statement. Like, what does that mean? I'm a Marvel comic fan. I've been reading Marvel comics probably as long or maybe longer than he has.
And like Agatha's also such a niche character. Like, it is for Marvel fans, because I feel like unless you're deep into the MCU and seen WandaVision,
he's calling it's not Marvel fans.
Yeah, like it's going to be the Marvel fans who know Agatha. I'd be like, yeah, I read the book Agatha. Like, I know her from the comics. Like, it.
I've come to the conclusion, because remember with Skeleton Crew, these guys also imploded on that one and talked about like how nobody wanted it or whatever, and it feels weird. I've come to the conclusion that if you are a true comic book fan, in my opinion, and I hate even using that term because I think it's so cliche, but if you're somebody that really loves comics, you would want to know more about the world that those comic books exist in, right? You want to know more about characters that aren't necessarily Iron Man and Thor and all of Batman and Superman. You want to know about the other characters in that world. This is what I was complaining about when I talked about like the Joker movie and all these Batman projects. I like to add layers and flesh out the world that I'm watching. So Skeleton Crew is a slice of the Star Wars world that we've never seen before. We've never seen what it looks like to not be part of the Resistance, to not be part of the Empire, to not be part of this whole magical universe. These are people that exist in that world that aren't necessarily on the front lines. And it's the same thing with the Agatha show. This is an adjacent story in the Marvel universe where you can take this beaten path, you can go down this road and explore the Marvel universe, or you can ignore it and just focus on the big films. Mm-hmm. You have an option to do that. So I would say a show like this is actually more for comic book fans than any of the other stuff. Because to be honest, a lot of the big MCU stuff, people that watch that, and I know this for a fact, anecdotally talking to them, people that don't read the comics know about the MCU, but they're not going to know about Agatha. They're not going to know about Wiccan. They're not going to know about Blackheart. These are things that only comic book fans are going to know about. So please explain to me how it's not made for comic book fans. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree. And also what I think what I've really, or I guess a big conversation that's been had, or needs to be had, I guess, is like, I think Agatha has created a genre within itself within the MCU, which I think is neat, right? We're at a point where the MCU is so large, it's so big, there's so many projects, people aren't going to be watching all of them. They can't. There's too much for casual audiences. And now we are, and this is something the Arrowverse did as well, where it's like, well, I like The Flash, or I only like Arrow, and I only like, well, this is a genre of the fan base that likes the Agatha, WandaVision, Vision Quest, Doctor Strange era of the MCU. And there is an entire section of the MCU fan base that this is the part of the MCU that they're into, that they're watching. And you're seeing that online. Like, it has an entire, the Scarlet Witch fan base is crazy. It's an entire, I feel like a good 25% of the MCU
There's actually a Wiccan fan base on Twitter that is also engaging with the show.
Too. Yeah. And I think this is exactly what they need, is they need different genres for different people. Like, this is, like again, not everyone's going to like the show. Like, this is a show I can tell straight from the fact, Not everyone's gonna like that. That's completely fine, and that's how it should be. Not every person should have to be into every project.
And Harrison makes a good point here. Agatha pre-WandaVision was literally a deep cut character that only comic fans would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. I would say that saying that a show about like deep cut characters is not for comic book fans is a wild flex. It's a wild flex. Honestly, they're the ones that are going to want to tune in and know more about it. So I actually enjoy that. I enjoy all that lore. But this is the kind of discourse we're seeing online. These kinds of people ruin the fandom for so many folks. And it's so frustrating.